Next up, I have Kelly Wright, who is the SVP of Sales at Tableau. Welcome, Kelly.
Thank you.
It's good to have you here. So can you tell us a little bit? I mean, SVP of Sales, the product kind of flies off the shelf by itself. What else do you do besides just
I wish the product flew off the shelf. That doesn't quite happen.
So tell us about your role here and what you do.
My role is as the EVP of Sales. I run everything that's sales and field operations. So
Cool.
all sales, training, services, technical support, customer success, and all the other customer-facing programs.
Fantastic. Training, I did not realize fell under there. That's really cool. There was a great quote on one of the boards. I forget. I'm going to abuse it, I'm sure. But it said something like, when I've trained on Tableau, or when I gave training on Tableau, I got standing ovations. That's never happened anywhere else.
Oh, yep. There are.
What do your training programs look like? How are they? Why are they so impactful, do you suppose?
Well, you know, I think it's less about the training specifically. I think it's more about customers. They want to be able to answer their own questions in Tableau.
Yep.
They want to be able to interact with data in a way where they can feel more self-sufficient and they can actually get their jobs done. And so what our training is less about just teaching people how to use Tableau. It's letting them know what are the basic tools that they can use that help them to unleash their own creativity to be able to answer their own questions. And it's really less about teaching them about Tableau. It's more about understanding what their problem is and helping sit with them as they are working with the product to be able to interact with their data and answer questions, just using Tableau as a vehicle to have that conversation with their data.
That is very cool. I do actually technical training quite a bit on AWS and Hadoop, so I know this environment. And it's typically more instructor-led, right? When I teach courses, I'm up there, 90% of the time talking and telling people about the product, and that gets very old and boring, and I know it. And unfortunately, when you're disseminating information one way, there's no other way. It sounds like your guys' training is more interactive. Like folks are actually embedded and trainers are running around answering questions and so forth.
Well, we do a lot of the training is just even online too. So we have a lot of free training. So
very cool.
Because that helps to drive the self-service. Everything shouldn't only be instructor-led. We try to build and create products where people can get up and running in a very fast, nimble, agile way. So there's hours and hours of services of training that is up available for free on our website, or they can have a training where we sit down with them and we can help them, and we have instructor-led training as well. Sometimes that's a good way to accelerate it so someone can get up and running really fast.
And what are some of the types of courses you guys offer in training?
Oh, in training? Yeah. Well, we have fundamental training and advanced training and Jedi training and training on services. At Tableau, we like to have a lot of fun. So it's really all about just empowering people to answer their own questions. So a lot of what we do, whether it's on the sales side or services or training or with our different adoption programs, is just helping the customer to be able to be more self-sufficient. So.
Sure, and your customer profile has changed quite a bit in the last 5 or 7 years. A lot more enterprises are starting to hear about you guys, adopt you guys. How has that affected the sales organization? Are you still able to keep enough breadth to serve everybody, or do you focus on any particular one group more than another?
Yeah, I'd actually say that our customer profile hasn't really changed that much.
Okay.
So the way that we look at the world is there's 55 million companies in the world, and that's a fact, around 55 million. And every single one of those companies have data.
Yep.
And we believe that if all these companies have data, there's at least one person in each of these companies, usually more, that wants to be able to interact with their data, and whether it's a sole proprietor or it's a large enterprise. And in fact, there's people at these companies that they're really frustrated right now because they can't operate the systems that have historically generated the answers when they have questions. They had to go to IT and they had to go to these central groups to be able to answer their own questions. So now with Tableau, for decades, I was first salesperson at Tableau. So I joined in 2005 before we launched version 1. And if you go way back then, we were selling to small mom and pops, and we were selling to large enterprise, we were selling to government, we were selling to, you name it. And I think what has happened now is we still sell to the enterprise and what we call, this long tail of all these smaller customers and everything in between. But I think what's happening with the enterprise, and maybe why you're hearing that, is enterprises are really starting to embrace this whole self-service data democratization a lot more. So we're starting to see a real acceleration. Not only that they're buying just some, but in terms of the size and scope of their deployments. They're looking really for agile analytics and self-service at scale.
Got it. And do you suppose that has helped you guys differentiate that starting with, it was just one-on-one, right? You were talking to an individual. When you go into an enterprise, you're also saying you're one-on-one with that person. You're not looking at, the 50 people as a group. You're specializing with each individual one. Do you suppose that's a big contributor to why you guys are successful when you
Well, I mean,
sell
I
the
think
product?
all enterprises use Tableau in a different way, right? So
Sure.
there are the individuals that just want to answer their own questions. There also are the applications that are more like the one-to-many, a traditional business intelligence use case where they just want to push reports out. So,
Right.
sometimes we're talking to the individual, sometimes to IT, but the way we think about it is in the end, or actually in the beginning, the whole way through, it's all about the person. So
Sure.
our mission is to help people see and understand data. And we put a lot of emphasis on people
Yeah.
because we need to help people to answer their own questions, whether it's in a small way or in a big way, a line level person or a C-level person. So.
Absolutely, and you guys make a huge investment with that in this conference in particular. You have 2,000, I believe, out of 2,400, is that correct? Employees here at the conference? Or
We
is
have,
that-
yes, we have, there's around 12,000 people here, so 10,000 customers and partners and about
Right.
2,000 employees. And in fact, we have our entire development team is here. And we think it is really important for the people who are creating and developing the products to be able to interact with their customers, because that gets them really rejuvenated to be able to go back and solve real people's problems with our technology. And then the lion's share of all of other employees around the world are here as well.
Very cool. Do your devs, when they're done with this, have like a little powwow afterwards and kind of compile, stories and look for? Does that help drive features? Or I can see 20 different ways it could go after that.
I think all of the things probably that you're thinking happen. So there's meetings and their follow-up. That would be a better question to ask in terms of the
Absolutely.
people on the development team. But a lot of it is just, we talk about the creativity that actually allowing people to get their hands on things themselves
Sure.
are able to do. So it's really not only for our customers to unleash their creativity to answer their own questions. It's really when our developers are able to talk to customers and
Right.
find out what are their analytical challenges, what are they trying to do, what are they find that's hard or difficult.
Right.
Then it
There's a
gets
real
them
user behind
all
this,
these
yeah.
ideas, and then they want to go back at their desk and try to figure out how to solve it.
That is very cool. And so you've been with the company 10 years, right?
11 almost.
11
yeah.
years almost. That is a long time in technology. What would you say, and you're not the first in this interview session that's been that long. What would you say is the secret? How does Tableau keep their people that long?
Well, I think it really comes down to two things.
Okay.
So the first is, at Tableau, we're very, very mission focused. I think I've talked about, we help people see and understand data, a
Yep.
number of times.
Yep.
And people that work here, we're really on a mission to help improve how people not only are working, but just to improve their lives. And
Yep.
I think the kind of stories that we hear about how people are using Tableau with keeping kids in school, saving lives with different diseases that are out there,
Right.
and not-for-profits in terms of how they're doing, and just individuals who are getting many more promotions, or they're spending more time with their family because they're more productive at work and they can do things faster.
Right.
All that is hugely motivating. So I think that's the first reason. It's the mission that we're on. And I think it also ends up coming down to the people who are at Tableau.
Got it.
We have this culture where it's about empowering people to get their own things done, to hire really talented A players who are at the top of their game, who
Sure.
really want to have an impact. And when you get a whole bunch of people like that together that are really high A-level people,
Yeah.
it not only helps people operate at the top of their game, but it's a really fun, energetic, vibrant culture to work in. So
Absolutely.
then people are thinking, wow, this is where they want to be, because
Very cool.
they haven't seen that before.
Very cool. And one comment, I was just having lunch with some Tableau and some VentureBeat folks, and one thing we were talking about at lunch was just how diverse this crowd is. I was here at AWS in Vegas 2 weeks ago. It was a bunch of 20 to 40-year-old white dudes. That's pretty much it. That was the demographic. You guys are just so diverse, and both in and out of the company. Is that something that was conscious? Did you guys set out that goal, or do you just always hire the best people, and the best people happen to sometimes be different folks? And why is it you guys are so different than a lot of other companies out there in technology?
Well, I think if you look around at the conference, a lot of software conferences, who do they draw? They draw the IT professionals.
Sure.
If it's a BI conference, they draw the BI report writers. They involve the people who are in IT. At Tableau, because of this whole idea of helping all types of people to answer their own questions with data, we have here the not-for-profit folks who are trying to actually conquer what's going on with diseases. We have hundreds and hundreds of people that are teachers and administrators who are trying to improve the lives of our kids in schools. We have gamers who they just want to make their game better. We have, and then there's all the traditional enterprise folks, right? But even for the enterprise, it's not just the IT. It's the salespeople, it's the marketers, it's the creative folks, it's the more technical folks. And that's actually part of what makes Tableau so fun to be at, and the conference fun, because it's actually the people who are doing the work. It's the knowledge workers who are sitting at their desks doing work every day, not just IT folks who are answering. And now those people are here too, and actually they like Tableau because it makes their lives easier. Not only can they work faster, but they can actually end up delighting the business community in a way that they haven't been able to.
Cool. And you guys also have some interesting sessions here. There was a Women Plus Technology panel earlier in the week. Were you part of that, or?
I actually was at another session. But it was a great session. We had like 400 or 500 people that were there. We had that session last year as well, and so there's a lot of emphasis of just women in data. I mean, there's a whole push on women in technology and that whole thing as well. But it's really fun to be able to see the diversity in this conference of there are a lot of women here. So there's a lot of women, and at Tableau we have a lot of women as well. So
it's fantastic. Do you find, have you worked in other like male-dominated organizations where the dynamic was different? How was it different?
Well, I've pretty much always been in sales, and I've been at Tableau now for 11 years, so I've been here for a long time. And I think that I haven't always really noticed of are there men or there women. I've kind of just had the approach of what is it that I want to do? I like sales, I like technology. There tend to be less women in sales or in technology. So I notice it. It doesn't impact the way I go about my day or what I end up doing. But sometimes there are some funny conversations. Like oftentimes a customer will have some funny comment of, it's nice to have you here. We don't usually have women in these meetings, It's kind of funny.
Yeah, cool. So let's talk about global initiatives. What are some of the things on the Tableau global in your visors right now?
Well, for global, what we're doing globally is pretty much the same. Is just expanding what we did here for so many years, because the interesting part is companies internationally, they have a lot of data too. And people that work at companies internationally, they also want to see and understand their own data. And so initiatives that we have is we're actually opening up a lot of operations globally. So we've already done huge amount of expansion. In fact, I lived in Singapore for 2 months this summer. So I was in Singapore visiting a lot of our Asian operations, working out of our Singapore, that's our headquarters in Asia. And it was fun to be there and to be in Japan and to be in India and be in even smaller companies like Thailand, to be able to just help move our mission along there. Doing the same thing in Latin America. We have a lot of customers that are even here. There's a big contingency from Brazil that's here at the conference, a lot that's going on in Europe. And the only thing that I would say ends up being even more when we look at our international community, but it's important domestically as well in the United States, is as we grow and we get bigger and we go to more countries, the whole partner ecosystem becomes even more important, because a lot of companies, they buy through the partners. There's a lot of places where we can't reach all those companies because we don't have local feet on the street. So we're investing really heavily, not only in our direct operations, but in our build out of the partner ecosystem as well.
Very cool. And it's obvious, I mean, saying that you're an open system and getting this access to data is all very like in the kind of American psyche. But when you were saying you went to countries, like in Asia and Japan, I lived in Asia for 6 years of my life in Japan, and I know like they've got very hierarchical systems, very separate roles between the male and the female. Do you find that openness helps? Do you have any success stories of companies that maybe were coming from that more hierarchical, top-down approach, adopted your product, and it started opening them up and changing them and making them more innovative and more competitive?
I think that's one of the more interesting things that we see too, because oftentimes you have decisions where decisions are really coming from top down, and they're forcing down the decision making. And what that does is it caps what individuals can do. And
Absolutely.
so companies are always focusing so much on hiring really smart people. Every company thinks that they're hiring really great talent.
Yep.
But then what do? They go cap what those people can do.
Right.
And when those people are capped, two things happen. One, they actually can't go and make as many discoveries and can't drive insight that's going to drive the business forward.
Sure.
So you're locking that down. But also, those employees get really frustrated because they have ideas and they can't do it. They have to go ask for permission or go ask other people to go able to do it. So one of the things that's happening, not only in hierarchical type of societies, but even just in the enterprise as well,
right,
is companies want to be able to help empower their employees to answer their own questions, but they need to do it in a governed and secure way that make them not only feel, but know that they still have control, so people aren't getting crazy with what they're doing. And Tableau actually has, with all the enterprise features that we've rolled out, allows people to actually push off a lot of that work and independence and agility to their workforce while still maintaining that level of control and governance that makes them feel much more secure.
Got it. And it sounds like you guys have opened up several new offices around the globe this year. Can you walk us through some of the offices and when they opened?
Yeah, of course. Well, so we, if we just go through the international offices, so in Europe, our international offices, they started in Europe, in London, where we were a few years ago.
Cool.
And then we opened up Germany. And then this year we actually opened up in France. Last year we had opened up in Dublin. We have a lot of our operations in Dublin. And this year we had a big office because we moved to a new office in Dublin. Actually, the Prime Minister came to help us with the official opening in Dublin.
Cool.
So that's what's going on with Europe. Now we have people that are working other countries as well, but that's where we actually have physical office space. If you go over to Asia, we actually had people working over in Australia a number of years ago, and then we opened up Singapore a couple years ago, which is our headquarters there. Shortly after that, we opened up Japan. Earlier this year, we actually have our physical office space that's in Sydney. We have some people that are working down in Melbourne as well. And then just earlier this year, we opened up China. So our China headquarters are in Singapore. And then just very recently, a couple months ago, we opened up our first Canadian office, which is international as well, is in Vancouver.
Very, very cool. So a customer with you could get full follow the sun support on a complex issue, and
well, they've had follow the sun support for quite some time.
Okay.
But we do have support operations that are in Europe, both in Dublin and in London, and in Singapore, and then there's some in Japan, and then also down in Sydney. So
Got it, cool.
We are getting a lot of
And the product
support.
has been, and forgive me because I'm not a heavy Tableau user. Product
You should be a heavy Tableau user.
I am going to be after this conference, I think. The product has been internationalized in multiple languages as well?
Yeah, so the product has been localized, and actually we have not only the product that's localized, but we have the training and the website and all that is localized, because we talked a lot about how getting a customer to actually use Tableau is so important. So a lot of that self-service is available in all the languages as well.
Very, very cool. And one final question before we let you go.
Yeah.
How do you guys replicate your culture throughout the world? That's, like I said, obviously when you go into different offices, the people that you hire are coming from that culture. How do you guys keep the Tableau culture alive in all those offices?
Well, that's a great question, because the culture, it's not only a culture of just what is Tableau, it's a culture of every single person that we bring into the organization. So we say for all these people, they're the guardians of the culture too. So when we're hiring people, we're not only looking at just the resume and the experience, which is one thing but that's really the entry level of getting in.
Sure.
We're really looking at how excited and passionate are they about our mission?
Got it.
How customer friendly are they? Because it's really all about the customer first. That's what's really important. And then it's really about having a high bar for themselves. We also look at things just in terms of honesty and actually being a really good person. So not only the type of person that can do a good job, but like it's just the type of person that you'd want to go to dinner with or have your family meet. So we can get that real family environment. And I'm glad you brought that up at the end, because that culture, we're continuing to build it, and we are hiring. So for anyone that's out there, we are looking for lots of new people to come join the Tableau family. So.
Very, very cool. Awesome. Kelly Wright, thank you so much for being here.
It's great to meet you. Thank you so much.
Thanks a bunch.
Okay, thank you.